fighting for. Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. The next stop is Vietnam.
Thousands of young Americans who came of age in the 1960s were soured by a decade of disillusionment. The Vietnam War, presided over by an unpopular President Richard Nixon, and politically frustrated violence at the Democratic Convention in Chicago. By the summer of '69, a counterculture of flower children had bloomed, their lifestyle defined by rock music, anti-war slogans, psychedelic drugs, brown rice, good vibes, and sexual freedom. All of these elements came together in a psychic Garden of Eden called the Woodstock Festival. Actually, a cow pasture 50 miles away from Woodstock, New York, in the town of Bethel.
There wasn't quite the feeling among youth in the late 60s that they had to plug themselves into a job right away. They'd been raised affluently, and they had the freedom to go out and experiment with a lot of different things.
The three-day festival of peace and love featured some of the top rock groups of that time.
Owned by O'Cott Country Joe, Crosby, Stills, Nash, Richie, Jimi Hendrix, and John Sebastian, Shania Twain, and the Family Stone, The Who.
But it was not the music that made history 20 years ago. The audience was the real star of the show. More than 400,000 people converged on Max Yasgur's farm, which despite 2,000 portable toilets became an instant health hazard. They were short on food, water, and just about everything else except drugs.
Tripping for the whole time.
On top of that, it rained all weekend, turning the hippie love fest into a mud bath. But the spirit of the Woodstock nation turned disaster to triumph.
Everywhere I walked, people offered me food if I was cold, you know, and then they overheard me, they offered me clothing. It was unbelievable. Everyone shared everything they had, and I never felt such camaraderie.
Sex education in the school I went to was the Red Cross lady came in once a month, and so she said, don't look up the word masturbation in the dictionary because it's not a nice word, and pray to God. That was it. So, of course, we all looked up the word. To suddenly at Woodstock, everything opening up.
Elliot Tiber was a local artist who finagled a town permit for the Woodstock Festival. The site now marked by a granite memorial. Another Woodstocker, Bill Lubinsky, finds himself drawn back to the site year after year.
I know guys who were in World War II who wanted to go back to Normandy where they had landed. This was sort of like a little mini war, and that we survived. And we wanted to come back and see what it was like. And we feel compelled to come back. I mean, people really feel compelled to come back here every year after year after year.
Many of the issues and attitudes that took root in this meadow 20 years ago today are just blowing in the wind. The autumnal flower children of yesteryear might look at their own teenagers today and question whatever happened to youthful idealism. Where have all the flowers gone?
By the time we got to Woodstock, we were happy.
Tomorrow, we'll look at what the Woodstock generation is doing today and whether their children can ever have a Woodstock of their own. In Bethel, New York, this is Barry Cunningham.
Where have all those years gone?
That's USA Tonight for this Monday, August 7th. I'm Marvin Scott.
Now, part 2 of his series on Woodstock, Barry Cunningham goes in search of some of those flower children of the 60s. Where are they now?
Don't get on, we'll meet you down there.
The Woodstock Festival was so symbolic of the 60s that millions of people who never attended the 3-day rock concert think they were there.
Do you know anyone who doesn't claim that they were at Woodstock in 1969?
I haven't met anyone. No.
Why do you think that is?
I think people who grew up during those years kind of marked their lives by Woodstock, before Woodstock, after Woodstock.
Michael Lang is one of 4 young promoters who dreamed up the outdoor concert as a money-making venture. Venture capitalist Joel Rosenman's dream was to raise money to build a recording studio in Woodstock.
We were fixated on the nightmare that we might throw a huge party like this, invite everybody, and nobody would come.
But as the hippie hordes descended, nearly 500,000 strong, the chain link fences came down as fast as they went up.
This continual flow of people.
There has to be some way of stopping the influx of humanity.
The New York State Thruway is closed.
That's far out. It's easy for today's teenagers to poke fun at the hippie craze with its peace symbols, love beads, Jesus sandals, and tie-dye T-shirts. At a recent Woodstock anniversary party in Manhattan, former batik freaks munched on the granola muffins and veggies that sustained Woodstockers for 3 days in 1969. What's happened to the forever young crowd whose motto was never trust anyone over 30?
Now I'm an advertising account executive.
I've been in the insurance business for 11 years here in New York.
Right now I'm raising a bunch of kids in Miami.
I work with computers.
Now I have an advertising agency outside of Philadelphia.
Many have less than romantic memories of Woodstock. Christy Whitker is now a TV reporter for the Independent News.
I remember nothing but mud, humidity. It was like an endless subway ride. The people were so close to you. You were standing just like this. You couldn't move through the crowds. And they weren't happy crowds. Everybody was like a zombie. So many people were on drug trips. Anyway, they were zombies.
I mean, these are American-made cabinets, but they're European style, and they are more accessible.
Tom Law designs and manufactures kitchens in New York City. 20 years ago, he was a pot-smoking member of the Hog Farm commune that looked after people experiencing bad trips on LSD.
It wasn't really centered on the drugs, but it was centered for me on the idea of all these people getting together and having such a great time together.
His son Baba wasn't born yet. Today, the son wonders why his generation can't have a Woodstock of its own.
And it's kind of makes me jealous that I wasn't there. I wish that there was something that was as concrete in my life that the youth could get behind and push.
Well, I think there is, and it just hasn't gotten to that point of power yet, and I think it's in the environment. I mean, that's what you're interested in.
Oh, there's always an issue. We can speak about the homeless.
Nauria Guariello was barely 2 years old when her mother Lorita took her along to Woodstock. Returning to the same alfalfa field this anniversary year, they feel the power of love and music to overcome modern urban problems.
I have no questions to ask. I just know it was beautiful and peaceful. And I'd like to leave it at that, and I wish there could be another one.
Woodstock was a dream made in rock and roll heaven, but it was a nightmare for townspeople in the tiny hamlet of Bethel, New York. Tomorrow, we'll see why the town fathers won't be celebrating the Woodstock anniversary. In Bethel, New York, this is Barry Cunningham.
And we'd like to thank, special thanks to the townspeople of Bethel, New York and Life magazine for helping us locate the Woodstock alumni. And that's USA Tonight for this Tuesday, August 8th. I'm Marvin Scott. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.
With a lecture.